Oops. Come back over here. I moved something wrong. Let me move things back. Oh my gosh. Hello, beautiful people. Happy Mercury Retrograde. Those of you watching in replay over at Facebook, please put in hashtag replay so that I know you are here enjoying the replay, because I will be able to come back around and jam with you in the comments even later. Are we actually pushing through? I think we are, but we may have a little bit of a lag. We're going to find out. Happy Mercury Retrograde. I'm Bonnie Gillespie. I'm the author of Self-Management for Actors, and I am an Emmy-honored casting director. I work on this show back here, Artificial, and it is a fabulous and innovative show that I am proud to get to be a part of and help with casting. We've got Erin here. We've got Lenka here. We've got Tanya and Jenny. Hello, beautiful people. Let me see. I've got comments in two different places. Why is that? And it looks like we're still not pushing through to Periscope. Okay, so apparently that's just not going to be a thing anymore. Restream is what I use. I use Ecamm into Restream, and usually it goes through to YouTube and Facebook and Periscope simultaneously, and it seems like it's not been playing nice with Periscope for a couple months now, and I was hoping it might be back. Hi, AJ. Good to see you. Hello, Emily. Is anybody watching at YouTube? I would love a comment there so that I know that at least we landed on 2 of the 3 places. And for those who saw the tweet and are like, I can't see it, you're not showing up on Periscope, which pushes through to Twitter, I'm so sorry. Please, hopefully, if you're seeing this, you have come to wherever it is that you are able to find it, because it's not showing up there. But whatever. Yes, great. Sarah confirming that we are good at YouTube. Okay, well, so 2 out of 3. I'll take it. Mercury's in retrograde, which of course is the illusion that from where we sit and the way the orbits are shaped, that Mercury is moving backwards. It's not. Don't worry. It's just an illusion. But that illusion makes some things a little wonky in the world of astrology. And so we are going to be doing some astro woo-woo goodness today. And this is actually by request. I'm always happy to talk about the woo. I even have a membership where all we do is talk about the woo. Like, it's like, that's all that class is every single month. Zoom hot seat session and all the things that we talk about in the comments are all about the woo. So certainly happy to do it always. But there was actually someone who out on Twitter said, hey, you did a thing at the end of last year where you talked about how we could use the moon phases to make certain decisions in our calendar, and how it is that we make decisions about promoting things or launching things or starting new projects, collaborating. When are the good group days? When are the good, like, don't talk to me days? Stuff like that. When can you do that again? And I was like, you know what? I could actually do that right now. That's a really good halfway through the year kind of thing to do. And of course, a lot has changed since December of 2019 when I did this. But in looking for all my notes, I found where I did that webinar in that live stream in December of 2019. And I want to read this to you. So, by the way, if you do not have your chart, I recommend that you go to astro.com and put in your information. It's in the free horoscopes, free charts drop down. There's a thing that says natal chart, natal horoscope. I want you to go create one of those if you want to go deeper on some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. You don't have to have it. Just knowing your birthday is enough. But if you've got like time and place of your birth and can put it in for something like that, you actually get something that looks like this. This is my chart. Yes, my birthday is in less than 2 weeks. Is it less than 2 weeks? No, just about 2 weeks. Not quite 2 weeks. My birthday is in just over 2 weeks. Good God. My birthday is the entire month of July, which is why I don't actually keep up with when it is, because I celebrate me for that. I celebrate me every damn day of every damn year, let's be clear. But I especially celebrate me the whole month of July because my birthday is July 11th. So for sure, you get one of these. Yes, it's a big birthday. I'm very excited. And when you get one of these, you're able to, if you talk to somebody who knows what this means, you're able to go, okay, all of this stuff concentrated here and concentrated here and concentrated here means things about this chick's life focus and where she's going to be successful and where she's going to be challenged. And then things like what's up there and what's over there tell me a ton about this person's personality. And so those are the kinds of things that we can talk about if you go get this, and it's free. So go to astro.com if you want to have that handy. Meanwhile, I'm going to read to you something that I pulled when Brooke asked me to do this. I was like, I know I did one of these in December of 2019. Let me pull my notes from that one, because for the year, especially if I'm doing like forecasty stuff, I'm like, hang on to this because you're going to want to see if this shit came true. Get ready. 2020 is a 4-year numerologically. That is a year of hard work. We have 6 planets in Capricorn to kick off 2020. Capricorn is the sign of hard work. It is also ruled by Saturn, which is the planet of destiny and challenges. And if you are not on your life's path, Saturn will make sure that you get shit upended to put you on your life's path because it does not want you ignoring what it is that you're here to do. I wrote over here on the side, 2020 is a legacy creating year. More retrogrades in 2020 than in any other recent year. See those retrogrades as a way to catch our breath. And then I listed out what the Mercury retrogrades mean, what the Venus retrograde means, what Mars retrograde means, what all types of things we're supposed to reassess about each of these areas that these planets focus on. All year, underlined, restructuring at a systems level. 2 underlines under the word systems. Restructuring at a systems level. And then I list off more of the planetary things that make sense to me in shorthand. And then I mentioned the biggie. This is the biggie that all the astrologers were looking for and going, ooh, 2020 is going to be interesting. Saturn and Pluto are aligned in January of 2020. And this only happens every 30 years. And when Saturn and Pluto are aligned, that destiny, Saturn, is transformed Pluto. Because Pluto is the planet of transformation and change. Saturn, of course, is hard work and challenges and destiny and making sure that you're on the right path. Pluto, however, does not just mean transform. It means end to rebuild. End to rebuild. Burn the motherfucker to the ground, Pluto says. And Saturn says, here's where, over here. How about this? Did you get that? Because you haven't gotten that before. So we're going to take advantage of that right now while Pluto's here to make some change. A rising up of the feminine energy. This will help create the balance of the drive of Capricorn. Starting in May, speaking up, using your voice, connecting with others in a way like never before, and all year long building the foundation for lasting change. Who knows their shit? Who knows their shit? Y'all. So let's now talk about the last half of the year, right? I'm actually not going to go through all the transits of the last half of the year because what I promised that we would do today is talk about how you handle stress. How you handle stress based on where stuff is in your chart. So, yes, very important that we know where we get flamed up. I'm seeing flames in the comments, where we get flamed up on handling stress. It is different for every sign, and it's not just your sun sign. It's not just your one sign that you look for when you go read a horoscope. Like everybody knows, like I'm a Cancer. I'm born July 11th, therefore I'm a Cancer, so I go read Cancer. However, in horoscopes, I actually also read Libra because my moon and my rising are both in Libra. And when you have 2 of the 3 personality placements right there on the same sign, you could actually be more that than your sun sign. Now, there's nuance to it. It's actually, the sun rules your outward facing persona, your ego, the structure of who you are and how you make decisions. And then the moon rules your emotions and how you come to feel about things that you experience in your world. And then your rising is kind of like your day-to-day decision making and the criteria about the stuff that's important to you. So it's the combination of those 3 specific territories that really tell an astrologer the most about your personality. But I also take a look at things like, where's Mercury? Where's Venus? Where's Mars? Because those close-in planets tell me a lot about how you handle certain things. Mercury, as we know from Mercury Retrograde. Mercury Retrograde is something that everybody has heard of if they're here, I bet. Because you're woo-woo enough that you've heard Mercury Retrograde. You may even know an awful lot about Mercury Retrograde, which is great. We're in Mercury Retrograde right now. There's a great website that's called ismercuryretrograde.com. I love that because when people go, gosh, is Mercury retrograde? Because things are crazy. I just go, here's your website. Go here. And it's just, all it does is says, no, something else must be bumming you out, or yes, and here's when it goes direct. So clever. So clever. I love it. Okay, so we know about Mercury retrograde because this is something that happens a few times a year. It's either 3 or 4 times a year, depending on how early it happens the first time that year. Sorry for that loud pop microphone. I am having a fizzy. I know, I feel like I always have to narrate what I'm having to drink. This is a fizzy cucumber melon Soleil in honor of my amazing assistant and badass running my company, Erin Zapsik, because she always takes one of those to go when she comes in and works in-house and then gets on the road to go back to the valley. She goes with one of them. So I get that one today because that makes me think of Erin. So there we go. Okay, cool. So, all right. Mercury, we notice going retrograde 3 or 4 times a year for 3.5 weeks at a time because Mercury rules communication. Mercury rules travel. Mercury rules how we learn, how we speak, how we interpret the messages that are coming at us, and how we put out the messages that we hope to get to land with other people. Okay, so when Mercury goes retrograde, all that shit goes haywire. Things run late. Tech doesn't work the way we think it should. Like, for instance, a live stream today, I came in here way early and made sure I had updated all the apps, that I had changed all the language in the Restream social push, because anything that could be last minute goes wrong, Mercury retrograde loves. And so all the things that we are used to, I'm fine. I can handle that. I can do that at the last minute. During Mercury retrograde, don't wait till the last minute. Because tech goes crazy, communications goes crazy. Just in the micro, the way that we say a thing that last week we would have said it and it was no big deal, but we say it this week and suddenly we're in a fight with someone that we're in love with and we're like, what the hell happened, Mercury? Because Mercury says, you say it like this, but I'm going to hear it like that. Okay, so just keep in mind, that's what we know about Mercury. The other things being in retrograde doesn't mean the same thing. For instance, Venus is in retrograde until, is it today? Hang on. Is it today? When does Mercury go? When does Venus go direct? Today! Yesterday, Venus went direct. Whew! Okay, so Venus, when it's in retrograde, because Venus is the planet of love and beauty and value, when Venus goes retrograde, which it only does once a year, we actually change how we see beauty. Is it once a year? Maybe it's once every 2 years. I'll have to check. But when it goes retrograde, it's retrograde for a longer time, and it really affects how we see beauty and how we see value and how we see love and money. And so we always say under a Venus retrograde, you could get a haircut, but don't get a boob job. Like what you think is beautiful is different during Venus retrograde. So during Venus retrograde, if you buy a car, for example, you will have buyer's remorse when Venus goes direct and you look at it and you're like, why was I so turned on by this piece of shit? Like, because of the retrograde of Venus. And so the planet is the tone of what the retrograde is going to affect. And so I said I like to use 3 personality planets outside of the placements of Sun, rising, and moon. So I go Sun, rising, moon, and then I go Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So Mars is the one that we're going to talk about today because it specifically has to do with how we handle stress. Mars is the warrior planet. Mars is how we fight. It's how we fuck. It is how we initiate. It's how we get things going. If we ever want to start a project, Mars energy is involved. And so Mars is in retrograde. Everything's in retrograde right now. Let me see. When does Mars free up? Not this month. But I think, no, is Mars the only one that's not in retrograde? Yeah, I have a different calendar than I usually do. And I'm trying something new with my notes, because this is now becoming a bigger part of my business than it used to be. So I'm trying to upgrade how I write things all over my freaking calendar to keep up with stuff. And so I've put it somewhere else, and then I didn't have that open here. So I'm not going to waste time finding it. But when we take a look at what sign your Mars is in, right? So you've got this planet Mars, and on your chart wheel, it's somewhere. And it's like, where did it land? Where in your life did your Mars land? And so for me, you see, I have this pretty busy 10th house over here. There's 3 things there. Whenever there's 3 things or more in a certain house, and each one of these pie slices is a house. Whenever there's 3 things or more in a house, that's what's called a stellium. And so if you have a stellium, it just means that there is going to be more energy focused in that house because of that collection of planets or placements all in that house. They just have a lot of work to do. So 10th house represents career, higher calling, fame. I got 3 things there. It is not an accident that I have a public life. It's not an accident that I work with people who are in the public eye. This was all laid out right here. That I would always, I thought it was, I'm going to be an actor and I got to go out to LA and be famous. Not it at all, but I get to work with a lot of famous people, and I very, very definitely do have a public facing life. So all of that is showing right here. So I have Sun and Venus. No, that's not Venus. Sun and Mercury and Mars all in the 10th house. My Venus is in 11th. But in the 10th house, I've got my Sun, my Mercury, and my Mars. So if you could look for a symbol that is a circle with an arrow on it, like the male symbol, if we were doing male, female, just shorthand, that symbol that is a circle with an arrow on it, that's Mars. If you can find that, we know from the house it's in where that's going to show up for you. And then we take a look at what sign it's in. So I've got 10th house, Mars, in Cancer. Okay, Cancer's everybody's grandma. Cancer makes everyone feel safe and nurtured and loved. Cancer also feels everybody else's feelings. It's a lot. And so with a Mars in Cancer, it means the way I get things started, the way I initiate things is by making sure it feels right. This drives my team crazy because I will be on the road toward, we're going to do this, here's the plan, there are benchmark dates that we've set out months in advance, and then I'll go, no, I'm not feeling it, we're not going to do that. And then I just move over and choose something else that we're going to do. And my team is like, what the hell? We were moving on this, like we've been planning on this, we've been buying tech to get this thing set up, and now suddenly you want to do something totally different. And I'm like, yep, that's Mars in Cancer right there. Also how I handle stress. Mars in Cancer, because that means I will fight from a position of how do I protect? How do I make others feel safe? This is why there was no question how I was going to show up in the world with Black Lives Matter. There's absolutely zero question about it. And while I watched other people in the online space debating, do we take a position? Do we send out an email? Do we, like all these like white girl problems? Like, what do I say about how much it hurts my heart to learn that maybe I may be more racist than I ever thought was possible. And I'm so sad and I don't know what to do with that. Like all the, what do I do conversation was not a thing for me. It was like, oh, I know how I show up in the world. I absolutely know how I show up in this world. It's the same way that I fight for everyone to have a joy-filled journey when it comes to the showbiz experience. Just being a part of the self-management for actors world, you know that I'm looking out for how can we make everyone feel great? How can we make everyone have fun along the way, no matter what tier you're at, no matter what market you live in, no matter what your goals are and how big you hope things will get for you. I treat everyone the same and everyone is sure they're my favorite because I love that fighting for what feels good for everyone. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking for with this. So let me see what kinds of things y'all are telling me over here in the chat. We've got Emily with Mars in Aries. Okay, girl, Mars loves being in Aries. Mars loves being in Aries because Aries is everybody's puppy. Aries is like, what's that? Aries is ADD in a sign. Like Aries gets super excited and loves to run off and start things. And of course, Mars is all about how we start things. So all that fire of that Aries in Mars loves to start shit, but often starts things that they can't finish. Also can mean that you say things and later wish you could take it back or fix it or heal it, and you kind of can't because you already put it out there. However, because it's Aries, a lot of times all is forgiven. Scorpio similarly will say things that hurt and don't that are very, very tough to recover from, but Scorpio doesn't get forgiven in the same way that Aries does. Let me see who was next after that. We've got Sade with Venus and Mars and Aquarius in the 3rd house, Mercury and Pisces in the 4th house. Oh my gosh, you got all the data. All the data. Woo, that's so cool. Curious about how it might affect the result if the planet is close to the edge of a house versus more central. Stephanie, it only matters if it is like right on the cusp. We only really talk about that if it's right on the cusp. If it's 29 degrees, it's still in one sign or still in one house. It's still in one sign. And so that you really want to take a look at if it says 0, then we need to take a look at it, because then we're talking about a cusp. And when I say when it says 0, you want to look at the numbers that are over here. And so, like, for instance, with my Venus says 29 Leo, that's pretty close to the edge. It's kind of over there toward where all those other planets are for me in Cancer, but it's very much still in Leo, because that's still what's happening at that degree. Okay, Caroline says Mars in Cancer. So Caroline, just like me, you will fight for somebody else to be taken care of. You will start something because it sits right in your gut. You're like, yes, gut instinct says go, I go today. And it can break every single rule in the world as long as it feels right in your gut. But it also means you feel everybody else's pain, which sucks, because lots of people got lots of pain and you feel all of it. And it's just a lot of sensitivity. Mars and Gemini for Bradley. Okay, so here we go, Bradley. Mars and Gemini is going to mean that you get things started with your words. You are someone who can always have conversations going and like talk till the end of time, and all that stuff feels really great. And you get things going in a way that feels like it's balanced because of the two parts of Gemini, but you also will start things even if only one is aligned, which means, and I know you have a lot of Pisces in your chart, so that, which is also a dual sign, which can mean that you get yourself in situations that later a bigger part of your personality is looking around going, why am I here? And it's like, because there was one little part of you that decided this looked like a good idea. But for you, Mars and Gemini, you want to make sure you talk things out. The more you talk them out, the more you diffuse some of that energy that otherwise could be pretty fiery. Let's see. Kate says lots of Scorpio, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Saturn. Girl, whoo! That is a lot of Scorpio. Okay, so that means, here, Kate, you are very suspicious about things and people. I mean, I know that's a big blanket statement, but with that much in Scorpio, you are looking for the agenda when you talk to people, meet people. You're like, what are you actually trying to get out of me? What were you actually trying to make happen here? And you love getting to the bottom of things. And you're probably really great in bed, because all that Scorpio, you kind of have to be. Let's see. Sade says, not sure what third house is though. Okay, so third house is, I'll actually go through all the houses. How about that? I'll go through all the houses rather than cherry picking through the comments. But thank you, Sade, for mentioning that. I'll do that. Lenka and me, Mars and Aquarius. Okay, Alex and Lenka, Mars in Aquarius. Aquarius loves to march to the beat of its own drum. Aquarius loves to be different. Aquarius loves diversity. Like when it comes to diversity and inclusion and fairness and making sure that everyone is well represented, that's all Aquarius. It loves a group, and it loves a group that looks like the utopian world that Aquarius hopes can exist. So Aquarius in Mars means you'll start something if it feels like it's going to be inclusive. And you may get into things and then realize this is not a fair representation of how things are, and I'm not getting a chance to be that creative or innovative, and then decide it's time to back out. And Aquarius just doesn't give a fuck what anybody's thinking of them. So to have that in Mars, it means that you're able to get things fired off, started, and not really look around for too much of like, how does anybody else feel about this? You may go, well, you may have low enoughness, you may have doubt about, is this going to be a thing? But it's not going to be because anybody else is looking at you sideways, which is great, because that means you can get things initiated and started in ways that feel really good to you, and then take the data later. Excellent. Okay. Aries loves Mars. Mars loves Aries. Yep. Mars in Aquarius for Jenny. Okay, great. So I just did that one. Excellent. Perfect. Jenny too. Perfect. Okay. Where does the numbering start? Okay. Deborah, in your chart wheel, there are numbers at the center. Do you see those numbers? 1 through 12. So it starts right over here by your AC and then goes around this way, counterclockwise. That's the way the chart wheel goes. So your first house is always right under this heavy line called AC, and that AC is the rising, ascendant. And so your ascendant starts off the house structure for your birth moment. 5 things in one house. I don't know which one it is. So Deborah, go take a look at the center of that wheel and find the number, and that's the house. And then we can talk about what that means. But also take a look at what is at the outside for what sign that house is in, because all those planets are also in a single sign, or they're split between a couple of signs in that one house. So take a look at that as well. Okay. Mars and Gemini. Sweet. Okay, cool. Definitely a puppy who puts her paw in her mouth sometimes. Mars and Venus in Aquarius for Sarah. Okay, so Mars and Venus in Aquarius. You already heard me talk through the Mars part. The Venus part means that you can feel a little detached when it comes to love and money. And you probably are walking around going, I don't understand why people see me as cold or removed. It's not, cold's not even the right word. It's just detached. But you're more innovative with how you approach love and money, and you aren't so attached to what other people think about how you define love or how you value money and how you earn it. And so the Aquarius sign is so good at the detachedness state. The problem is there are so many other signs that dictate that you could be attached to stuff that Aquarius can be a little confronting for people who have a lot of sentimental signs elsewhere in the chart. But as far as the fighting and the loving being in Aquarius, that's great, because having both of those in the same sign means that they're kind of on the same team, even though they work on different areas. So Sarah has Mars in Virgo. Sarah, please stop being so hard on yourself. That Virgo sees everything. Virgo tracks all the details. Virgo takes all the notes. Virgo has all the receipts. And so when Mars is in Virgo, it's, I know I want to start something. I know I'm ready to initiate something, but I have this 3,000 checkpoint list. I have this 3,000 point checklist. And I'm seeing all the problems. I'm seeing all the places that this might not work. And so because of that, I can't start it. And it then turns inward into a pretty self-critical way. Now, the way it goes outward, though, is you are not afraid to speak up about somebody doing something wrong. You absolutely will go out of your way to go, that's not okay. So that it's good in that regard, in terms of letting you be a voice for what needs to be changed. But I just know Mars and Virgo, you could be really hard on yourself. Okay, so how does house affect everything? I will tell you. I'm so glad you asked, Miss Emily. Let's see. Also, Sun and Moon in Aquarius for Sarah. Yeah. Oh gosh, Sarah, you are so innovative. Yeah, for sure. That's all that Aquarius is: innovation and group work, wanting the world to look like an idyllic utopian world that you know is possible, and being innovative about how to get to that, and really not giving a fuck what other people think, and loving to talk through stuff. Aquarius loves to talk, loves to talk. Okay, Mars and Virgo, we just did for Madeline. Aquarius, yes, we did. Mars and Scorpio, Barry, we covered that. Yep. So you're good. Writing a sitcom, my cast is a rainbow. That's not at all surprising, Kate. Not at all. Upside of Mars and Aries helps to sever ties from the past and push forward into the new. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, because Carrie, with anything that's Aries, it's the puppy brain. It's like, what's that? What's new? What's that? What's new? What can I get into? And there's really not a lot of attachment for what's back there. So Emily asked, what do the houses mean? So let me give you this. I'm glad you're having fun, Tina. You're not stupid. If you joined us late, maybe you didn't get to go create your chart over at astro.com, which is fine. You can come back and watch the replay, and I'll have it all covered in here. But here's the recipe I want you to write down. The planet is the what. The sign is the how. The house is the where. Kate, Mars and Aries, we did at the beginning, so you can watch that in replay. What would be the difference between Mars being 0 degrees and Aquarius? Jenny, when it's 0 degrees, it's cusp. That's the cusp. And so, well, there's a moment that's cusp, and then one moment later, it is officially in the next sign or the next house or whatever we're talking about. So the thing that we know with 0 is there we really do need to look at both sides. And 29 degrees, sometimes we need to look at both sides. Because it's sort of like if you're born late in Cancer, you're more Leo-like than if you're born early in Cancer. If you're born early in Cancer, you're more Gemini-like. And I'm like right in the middle of Cancer because I'm just like, I am a Cancer. It's just right there in the middle. It's also why if you had identical twins and one was born in one sign and then 4 minutes later it's the next day and the next sign and they are born there, they can be completely different. But it's not like there's a switch that flips and suddenly it's like, yay, it's Leo season. It's just enough. It's the dial keeps turning. And there is a point where it's like, we actually have to read both. So I know a lot of cusp people will read both signs and find that it varies, because here's something you have to think about with horoscopes. So my mom was the astrologer. It's why I call myself the astrologer's daughter, because I am. And growing up, that's all I was, the astrologer's daughter. The thing to keep in mind, and this mom taught me this super early, and it kind of changed everything for the way my brain thinks about astrology. And it's why I like to use numerology even more than astrology, because numerology can be a little more spot on for more people. In astrology, 1,400 aspects change every 4 minutes on average throughout your chart. And that's why horoscopes have to be incredibly general, because there are so many changes that are made in a day. And they have to represent a whole like 28 and a half days of a sign, 29 days, 30 days, depends. The signs vary in length depending on the year and whether there's a leap year and when the moon changes. It's like there's so much that is packed into that month that they have to be incredibly general. And so, yeah, I would say for cusp stuff, just look at both of them. Virgo moon makes so much sense. With Virgo moon, Barry, that's also your emotional set point. Your moon is how you feel. And so that's an even more like emotional tie to that Virgo stuff. Oh, the Aries, Paula. That's so cool. Excellent. Okay, cool. All right. So let's see. Outer sign looks like an M with an arrow. So if the M with the arrow is like pointing that way, that is Scorpio. And if it's an M and it actually crosses back this way, that's a Virgo. But it's probably Scorpio based on the way you're describing it. Yeah. Okay. We're going to talk about the houses. All right. So Mars in Libra first for Kristen. When your Mars is in Libra, everything has to be balanced. Everything has to be fair. And you can't make a decision to save your life, because you can see all sides, all points of view every time. And you, because it's an air sign, feel like you need to debate out, but what about pros and cons. So Mars is how we start shit. You may find you don't start shit very well because you get into analysis paralysis. And that's just true of Libra in any placement, but especially when it's in Mars. It's because you can see all sides, because you keep weighing out what's the right decision. I have so much Libra in my chart that one of the jobs I have is to just pick. Just pick, because you're never going to decide which one is the right one, because you can actually see all sides. So instead, just pick a thing and go, and then get data and then recalibrate. I know you love this, Tracy. I know you love it, girl. Okay, yeah, I'm going to say it again. The planet is the what, the sign is the how, and the house is the where. Okay, great. Excellent. Okay. So here's what we do. If we're looking at Mars, that's the planet. That's the what. What? How we start things, how we fight, how we handle stress, how we initiate. Okay. That's the what. The sign is how we do it, which is just what I've been talking through for some of y'all when I've seen your comments mentioning what your Mars is in, how you do it. So how do you initiate? Like a Cancer, which means I'm everybody's grandma, which means I get the what done of initiating when the how, that Cancer, feels safe and that everyone else is going to be safe moving forward with that decision. And also Cancer comes at everything sideways. So it's a little bit innovative as well. That's one of my values on that. And then the house is where this shows up in your life. And so 10th house, career, higher calling, your purpose for being here on this planet, which means how I get things started has to come from a place of feeling safe and that everyone is nurtured and feeling good about it, mostly me feeling good about it. And this shows up in my career. Ta-da! That's how we work that formula. Okay, so let me give you a quick rundown of the houses. Write these down. If someone wants to put them in the comments so that they are seen by everyone, that would be fabulous. But here we go. First house, which is the one right under that ascendant line. Okay, Yoli, we'll see you later, sweetheart. Remember this big line right here. And by the way, I should mention, because we've been going like, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've been going since the top of the hour. It's like, so do me a favor, somebody on my team, drop in the link to the woo-woo section on our website. I've created a space on our website where I list off the woo-woo things that I do. And I'm actually working on something new right now that is going to be at a low price point to get like an interpretation of some of this chart stuff from me. As a written workbook kind of thing. But I've been doing some readings. I have a mastermind group that meets once a month where we go deep on all the woo-woo stuff. And it's only $50 a month, which is like, I don't have that much out there where you get to meet with me once a month for a Zoom and have access to me in the comments. There's nothing at that low a price point. Everything's like $200 a month. I've got one thing that's $100 a month, but it's invitation only. But so it's all at this link that my team has just put in over at Facebook. And if we could do it at YouTube as well, because I know we have quite a few folks who are still watching there, that'd be helpful. Feel free. Go in, check that out, poke around, see if there's something that interests you. I'm bringing more and more of the astro and numerology stuff into my work, which is so much fun. I'm having a blast. But so want to take a moment there since I saw Yoli was leaving, and I'm like, let me take a second to do that. Okay. Oh, yes. If you have nothing in your houses, like right here, I got a bunch here. I got a bunch clustered over here. And then I got this whole empty space over here. Like what? There's like nothing there. That doesn't mean anything. Here's what it means. It means I don't have anything blocking me in any of those houses. And I also don't have anything pulling for me. So I don't have things that are helping me get things done there. I have nothing that's hurting me there either. So that's what I like about when planets gang up and are in the same house, because usually it'll mean you have something there that is going to be hard. And one of the other things there is going to help with that hard. Like I see it over and over again. I've now seen enough charts and done enough because I'm practicing this new offering that I'm creating on all the people who were guests at the SMFA summit last month, because I was like, oh, I want to do gifts for you guys for being speakers. I love you so much. I want to give you these. I want to give you these gifts as a thank you. And I was like, I'm either going to do a little chart thing for you, or I'm going to get you just like a silly tchotchke thing from this place that I love to buy. If you want the astro stuff, if you want the woo-woo thing, I need your birth information. And everybody, except for like 3 or 4 people, came back with their birth information. They're like, oh, this is exciting. And I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, cool. So I'm getting a ton of practice getting to build these things. And as I'm getting clearer on, wow, planets love to show up together in a house to teach you and to help you, to teach you and to help you. Like, that's really cool. So when you see things clustered together, just know that one of those may be hard and one of those may be the help you need to deal with that hard. Okay, but let's go through all the houses because I want to make sure that you have a sense of what goes on in each. Again, if it's empty, it just means you have nothing fighting against you and you have nothing giving you gifts there. It's just neutral. It doesn't like empty doesn't mean lonely, doesn't mean sad. It just means there's not something that you have to karmically work out in this lifetime in those areas. So the first house is your self-identity. This is your ego. This is like right here, that very first one under the rising line. And by the way, this is the horizon when you were born. And the rising is the sun was coming up on the horizon that day where, okay? So this is how you're able to see your chart in just almost a geographical way, sort of. So this right here, first house, ego, who you are, how you present, how you define yourself. The second house is your values and the things that you want in life, the stuff that you crave. The stuff that you crave is what it's like, that's the stuff your heart really gets pulled to is the second house. The third house is networking, socializing, all your people. It's not necessarily your friend group. There's another house that's that, but third house is more community building. It's online communities. It's the collective, your tribe. So it's bigger than like your close friend group, and it's definitely not one-on-one partnership. We have a house coming up soon that will be that. The fourth house is home and family. Fourth house is straight up house and home, domestic, kids, the family you come from, the family you create, the home that you set up, and how that needs to feel. The fifth house is all about fun and play and creativity. Almost always 5 in astrology and numerology represents play and rebellion and recklessness and fun. And so sure enough, the same is true with the houses. Fifth house is all about fun, play. And if your sun is in the fifth house, you actually are as gregarious as a Leo, even if you're not a Leo. And so if you've ever been frustrated that you're like, I'm such an extrovert, I'm so extra, I want to be seen, and I'm energized by being around people, and I love being on a stage, but I have no Libra anywhere. But I have no Leo anywhere. Take a look at your fifth house. If your sun is in the fifth house, that's why. That's like, see me, spotlight, let me at it. Like, that's a really interesting placement for a sun. And even if you're not Leo, you'll have like Leo-like tendencies, which I think is super cool. Okay, so then the sixth house is your daily work, your health system, your structure for the day-to-day. So this is also kind of health and home and also kind of career. But the way I distinguish, because I said the 10th house is all about higher calling and your career. That is, if you are doing for a living what is your higher calling, 10th house. If what you do for a living is just that shitty jobby job that you're like, I don't really care about it, I'm not here to be the person who's known for my career, this is just a job, then that's in 6th house. Okay, so that's the distinction between 6th and 10th, and I will mention that again when we get to the 10th house. And so the 7th house, I said that you've got your community in the 3rd house. 7th house is one-on-one relationships. So 7th house is you and your partner, you and a business partner, you and a parent. Like, there are things in the 7th house that are just you plus one. So it's like that intimate relationship is 7th house. 8th house is money, security, how you feel safe financially, and where the stability comes from in your life. What do you have in the 8th house? And so, interestingly enough, I have, let me see which guy is that. I have Saturn in the 8th house in Taurus. And so that means, as far as money's concerned, I have the best with money sign, Taurus. So I'm in the house that is all about money. I've got the sign that is the best with long-term investments and money and how we make things happen. And the fact that Saturn's there means destiny, which means I attract money like a motherfucker. And even when times get scary, I don't get scared because I know I've got this. This is covered. And that knowing has helped me my whole life. It just creates a sense of ease that is unstoppable. It allows me to take risks. It allows me to have a lot of fun without worrying about how things are going to go. And as a Cancer, I would like to worry about all the things, please. But I don't. I can't be worried about that. I can't be worried about money because I know that's taken care of. And I also have a life experience of now coming up on a couple weeks away from 50 of experience knowing even when shit gets pulled out from under you, even when it all goes away, it all comes back. All right. So 9th house is deeper learning, travel, exploration, wisdom. So Mercury, of course, is the planet of learning and communication, but the 9th house is specifically higher learning, wisdom, education, travel, exploration, expansion. The 10th house, okay, career, higher calling, other people's money, so people investing in you. The 10th house is different from the 6th because the 6th is the work that you do if you're doing a jobby job. 10th house is the work you do if the work you do is the thing you came here to do. And so for me, I've always been on a path of doing what I came here to do. And occasionally I've taken a shit job just to make some money. And when I take a shit job, I look at 6th house. But when I'm doing things that are on my life's purpose, 10th house all day. Okay. And then 11th house, friends, your community, your group endeavors. This is different from 3rd house, which was networking, because 3rd house tends to have more of a connection with people that is to move things forward. The 11th house is your people from a sense of, this is my fam. This is who I'm here to connect with in some really great ways. And so in a way, there's almost like a journey from 3rd house to 11th house, if you want to look at it that way. And then the 12th house is our house of spirituality and mysticism. It's also the place where we look if there's something in your life that just feels like it's never quite right. We take a look at what's in the 12th house. We take a look at the sign that's ruling the 12th house, because whatever sign you have for your 12th house, that unlocks a little clue as to why you have that annoying thing about you that you try to change a million times and cannot seem to change. It lives there. It lives there. Okay, cool. So thank you, my team, for putting those all in the chat over at Facebook. If you're watching at YouTube, you can come over to Facebook and see the big list written out there. Let's see. Brooke says, I have 4 signs in my 8th house. Feel like I should have more money. Depends on what those planets are. You don't have 4 signs in your 8th house. You have 4 planets in your 8th house. It's just one sign. And well, depending on where your 8th house stops and starts, it could be 2, but it's not 4 signs. That's not possible. But it would depend on what they are. North Node in 5th. It sucks that my hardest lesson in life is to have fun. Josh, for sure. For sure. But with that assignment, moon in 5th house, that means just from an emotional perspective, it needs to be all about the fun. Because remember, the moon rules our emotions and how we feel what we feel. Okay? Cool. Excellent. You may have said this. What if you have 2 signs in a house? Alex, what I said is if you have 3 or more, it's called a stellium. Yes. And that means that you have very definite stuff going on there. All the Virgos, Kristen says. Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, so let's do a quick numerology on this. Let me see if I want to, what else I might want to mention on this. You know what? Since I mentioned what it means when the sun is in the 5th house, let me mention what it means if your sun is in any of the houses. Okay? Because since the sun is our identity, it is our framework for who we are, it means something different based on what house it's in. And so I've got a quick little cheat sheet here that I can use. So, sun in the 1st house are born leaders, no matter what the sign. It just feels rude, Dana. 5 planets, stellium in 7th house feels rude. That's a lot. That's a lot of relationship work, girl. Oh, honey. Yeah, that is rude. That's a lot. Okay. If you are born with your sun in the 1st house, born leader, you could even be seen as cocky. Sun in the 2nd house, again, whatever sign it is, doesn't matter. We're just talking about the house placement. Sun in the 2nd house means you're generous, you're self-sufficient, you are probably respected. Not that you care too much what other people think, but it's a good reputation with sun in the 2nd house. Sun in the 3rd house means that you love to learn. You're genuinely curious, and you love that everything that you learn, you love to share it. You love to put it out in the world. As soon as you've learned it, you're like, I have to share this. 4th house sun is home loving, homebody, always looking for ways to feel secure. So a lot of people who have sun in the 4th house, like really feel the drive to get married, like set down roots, like buy a house. Like they just need that feeling of security in the, in that home and family structure. Sun in 5th house, we've already talked about. It means that the spotlight shines on you brighter than any other placement pretty much. And you just love being seen. And that sense of play comes with you everywhere you go. The 6th house, if your sun is there, you're probably gregarious. You are probably physically healthy or well built and could draw attention to you that makes other people jealous because you just present as having shit together, whether it's true or not. The sun in the 7th house is a public life, but it's a public life that's different from the 10th house, which we talked about, because the 7th house, if your sun is there, you are really influenced by your partner. You're really influenced by like a business partner. You don't necessarily make decisions or life choices from a place of what do I want to do. You are more likely to check with how does my person feel about this? And so, yes, you can have a very public life, but you're always going to check in with, and how does that affect my partner? And so these are folks who, if they go into showbiz and their partner didn't want them to, we see them having like they choose acting and then have to lose their partner as soon as they get successful, which you don't have to do, but we see that play out time and time again with that. Sun in the 8th house, you are intuitive and love to experiment. Yes. You are like, I am trusting what's going on in the world enough that I can just get out here and see what's happening and figure things out. And then if you have your sun in the 9th house, where's the rest of my notes? You're idealistic and probably a little dreamy. Doesn't mean you're a dreamer. It just means, it does. You're a dreamer, but you are always seeing the idyllic way things can be. You're always seeing the best in how things could come together if your sun is there. And then if your sun is in the 10th house, we've already talked about that a little bit, and that's all the confidence in the world, higher calling. Your work and your life are like this. And anyone who knows me would say 100% true, because my sun is in the 10th house. It's like, yes, you're going to be public, you're going to be seen, and you're going to conflate your work with your real life. And maybe to an unhealthy extent for some people, not for me, but it depends on the rest of your chart. Of course, there's so many factors. If your sun is in the 11th house, you love helping others reach their goals. You are all about the group and the collective and helping the world be a better place and help it be the best that it possibly could be for you. And then if your sun is in the 12th house, you're probably a bit of a perfectionist. You probably are a bit of a loner. And even if you're like, no, I'm out in the world and gregarious and I love other people, you probably really need to go deep within to reset and recharge after small doses of othering. Always been fascinated by the casting aspect of the entertainment business and have been studying astrology for 5 years or so. So it's awesome to have you as well, that you have as well. Yeah, Josh, I grew up in a New Age household. My mom was a world-renowned astrologer. So I grew up doing that. Faux show. And one of them was the damn sun, Dana, honey. Oh, my heart hugs your heart. 4 Virgos, all in the 4th house, Kristen. Yep, that's your identity. Yes. Yes, the 12th house. Barry wants to know about the 12th house being the house of your undoing. So 12th house gets a bad rap. It has the reputation of being the house of your undoing, but my friend Eliza Rose, which I know a lot of y'all know, Eliza Rose is the business mystic. And if you don't know her, seek her out. She's amazing. She has several groups here on Facebook, some paid, some free, but she also is on Instagram and has a wonderful email newsletter. So you should seek her out. She's wonderful. She helped me rebrand the 12th house when we were just chatting, having one of our lady dates. And I said something that was going on in my personal life. And she was like, "What's your 12th house?" And I was like, "Virgo." She goes, "Oh my God." And then when she laid it out from her point of view, which is we actually have a superpower in that sign, in that house, that we just don't know how to use. And so for the most part, we have it express itself in ways that feel unhealthy, that feel uncomfortable, that we go, "Oh my God, if I could just, okay, so I have OCD, which for me, it manifests in a few different formats. Right now, I've got some of the more unhealthy ones in check, but one of the big ways that it shows up is a door cannot be left partially open. It has to be all the way open against the wall or all the way closed. And if it's partial, I can't sleep. I can't concentrate. I have to get up and fix it. And I also, for a while, believed that if Keith left a door ajar, he didn't love me. That he was showing me, I don't care that you are going to go crazy about this. Virgo sees everything. Virgo makes a list of everything that could be better. This is wrong. This is not optimal. This is not perfect. Remember, I said 12th house can be perfectionist if your sun is there. So it's got some of that energy, even though it's also this great mysticism stuff. And so one of the things that Eliza said to me is with Virgo in the 12th house, yes, everything has its place and you are ill at ease if things aren't in that place. But the superpower is trusting that there's nothing to fix, that the universe already has everything covered and taken care of. And if we could just lean into trusting more of it, we can find the beauty in the imperfections and in the things that are not quite the way that we believe they should be. And that was really helpful for me. But for the most part, the 12th house is the house of your undoing. It's that Achilles heel. It's that thing that trips you up and you don't understand why. Once you start to really understand your 12th house, you can lean into it in ways like I now know there's a tag in this sweater right here that I have to wear a tank top under. I have to wear a tank top under because if I don't have a cami on, that tag is how I die because it's roughing up against my skin and I've cut it as far down as I can. I'm like, why is this so painful? If there is a stray hair like hanging on me somewhere or in a bra strap, I'm like, oh, this is how I die. That's all Virgo 12th house. So Keith and I just make a joke about it. There will be something wrong. There will be something askew. There will be something that's not right. And I'm like, hang on, got to fix this. And I just go Virgo 12th house. I don't even have to say anything anymore. Virgo 12th house. We just know. Sun, Venus, Mercury, and something else in the 11th house for Alex. Oh, Alex, that's so cool. So that's that whole friendship, community, relations. Oh my God, that's why quarantine was making you so batty. Having all that need, all that energy around your people and your community and your collective and the collective as a whole. The something else that you're seeing in the 11th house, possibly it could be the North Node. It could be, the True Node. It could be, that's North Node. Could be Chiron. There are a few other things that are tracked depending on where you get the chart rendered. And I don't really track all of those like dwarf planets and outer satellites and things like that, simply because many of them weren't discovered at the time that I learned astrology because of how I grew up in it. So these things didn't exist then, so we didn't track them, we didn't learn them, and so they exist now, or have been discovered now, or have been illuminated now. And astrologers who have been doing this a long time love bringing in those new things to look at. I'm not there yet. I am completely covered with everything that I already know about astrology, and I am learning more and more about it every day, taking classes, learning things. It's super fun. I just finished a 4-week course with Rachel Lang that was on secondary progressions. So it was predictive astrology and taking a look at your natal chart, your progress chart, and your progress chart in comparison with the progress chart of the day, your natal chart with relationship to the progress chart of the day. So it's like all these relational things. Some of it's mind blowing, way over my head. But part of my taking that class was to up my fluency in some of the things about astrology that I don't yet know, or that I'm starting to recover from my memories of conversations with my mom. Let's see, Scorpio 12th house, Uranus 12th house. So yeah, that's great. We're not going to talk about outer planets on this one because we're already doing so much. But we're talking about Mars for sure. But yes, those placements will definitely mean something. Venus, Sun, Mercury 12th house. Barry, oh my gosh, all that idealism, all that mysticism. Yeah, you got to just lean harder into your woo. Lean harder into your woo, for sure. 4 signs in the 3rd house for Deborah. Oh, this is so good. The ruler of the 12th, the planet, and what sign it is, and what you were, is what you were in a past life, says Tracy. And that adds so much to help your life, says Tracy. Yes, thank you so much. Miranda says Sun, Mercury, Venus, Pluto, Scorpio, 8th house. First of all, I want to say stop bragging. You were so good in bed, but you know that. But the fact that it's 8th house and Scorpio, so you love getting to the bottom of things. You love doing research. You love really making sure, especially about things of money. And good news, Scorpio is another of the good money signs. Scorpio and Taurus are the best money signs. And so for you to have that there, that's awesome. The way you communicate can sometimes be biting because of that Mercury, that edge. That you say things that later you may regret, or that really hurt someone more than you thought that it would. And you're kind of like, why are you taking that so seriously? Because you didn't take it as seriously, but they did. And the reason I know that is because with both Mercury and Venus there, that means your values line up with how you talk, which all line up with your sun, which is how you present. So you're very, what you see is what you get, but you're too much for some people because of that sharpness. And you're not wrong when you say the things. It's just not always the nicest. Let's see. Joni says, including sun in 10th house. 4, including the sun in the 10th house. Yeah, so same as me. Born to be in the public eye. Your career is your life. Your life is your career. Fabulous. Yeah. And Joni, so Joni's one of the ones that I'm doing this new offering for, that I have, y'all, seriously, the number of hours I have logged on this thing for like 30 people. And I'm about 2/3 of the way done. I also did the members of my team because I'm like, I need more practice doing this. So anybody who will let me practice on you, let me practice on you. So also members of my mastermind, for the Aligned Advantage, I offered to them, like anybody who replies to this email tonight, I will go ahead and get yours in there as well. And I had a couple people reach out in time to get me to do theirs as well. And I'm like, I am learning so much as I'm putting these together. And Joni, yours was one of the ones that I was like, I'm having so much fun writing your stuff up because I'm like, I know you. Joni's my cousin. So it's like, I know her, and my mom used to sit and do her chart and do her readings. And so I also know I got a really, really harsh critic in my cousin Joni, because all her Virgo and the fact that she sat with the master, my mom. So I'm like, gotta come correct. Mars in the 1st house in Cancer. Yep. So Maxwell, we definitely talked about the Cancer part of things earlier. So just watch back in the replay. And of course, the 1st house is how you identify. That is your ego. You are who you are. Like that 1st house is your meanness, your Eunice. Brooke wants to know, you explained the houses. Is it possibly to briefly explain the planets? Yes, my alarm was going off because I have a meeting that I'm already late to because I didn't realize that it was going to be going on at the same time as this. So let's do a quick and dirty version, and then we'll just have to do another one of these. Or come join me in, seriously, a $50 mastermind is unheard of in my business, but it's because all we're doing is astrology. And I'm like, I'm still learning. If y'all are happy to get in here and let me share with you what I'm learning and let me practice with you and in front of you, like, yeah, let's do it. So my team will put a link. I think they probably already have put it once. But Erin, if you could toss it again in the chat over at Facebook for anybody who wants to explore that, that would be fabulous. And I also have at that page my woo-woo calendar, which is this bad boy, which is $5. Like, or you do a year subscription for $50. So it's $5, less than $5 a calendar. Because it's $50 for 12 months. But this is where I've got on here, like all the things that are happening with the planets and the moon phases so that you can plan things out. And that's the thing that Brooke was asking me to do today. And then I went, I want to talk about Mercury. I want to talk about the houses. And so because y'all were so quick on the draw of getting to your charts and able to see these kind of mapped out, I'm glad we went this route. But I realized, Brooke, I still owe you a let's talk about the moon phases again. So we'll do that in another one coming up. Or come join me in the dojo and we'll just do that as a part of our next meeting for Aligned Advantage, which of course always include the replays and a place for commenting 24/7. Barry, it's absolutely my pleasure. I love it. We're going to do quick and dirty on the planets. Here we go. Start writing. Ready? Where my log line's at. All right. Your sun, this is the structure. Like if we're driving through your neighborhood and I look at your house and I go, ooh, that house, I get what kind of house that is. That's your sun. Your sun is showing up as this is what you see from the outside. So whatever sign that is, that's what that means. Then I take a look at the very next thing is your rising. And so if you are looking at this block right here on your astro, we started with the sun. And then instead of going straight to moon, we're going to drop down here to AC because AC is for ascendant. And that is your rising. Your rising is if I let you come into the house. So you're outside of the house is your sun. Come into the house, see how you decorate, take a look at what your day-to-day life is like. What is your set point for comfort? That's rising. So that's why the rising is often telling me more about your personality than your sun, because the sun is the outer facing thing. But how do you tick? That's your rising. And then we go back up on this list to your moon. So we went here. Now we're going back up here. Okay, so your moon is how you come up with your emotions. So these are the parties that you throw. This is the kind of entertaining that you like to do. This is like how you like to make people feel once they have come into your space. So this is more intimate. All right, then from there, we've got Mercury. Your Mercury is how you communicate. It's how you learn. It's how you develop opinions about things. It's how you think the way you think. It's how you express yourself. It's how you write. Okay. And then your Venus is how you love and it's your values. It is, no, Barry, the moon is always emotional. The moon is always the emotions because the moon is ruled by Cancer, which is the emotional sign. And when the moon changes phases every 2.5 days, our emotional set point shifts in connection with the moon. Which is why I always track what sign is the moon in. And it's why I put things out on Instagram like, hey, y'all, Cancer moon, you're crying for a reason. It's not you. Don't worry. Leo moon's coming. It'll take care of you. Or like right now, Virgo moon, get shit done. Knock stuff off your to-do list. Yeah, for sure. So Venus is all about love and values and money. It's how you see beauty. And so knowing where your Venus is helps you understand why it is that you're into something that doesn't make any sense. Like if you're like, I don't understand, I'm crazy about this person, that's going to be Venus that tells you where you come from for that. Then, of course, Mars, which we've been talking about for the main part of today's conversation, is how we initiate, how we fight, how we fuck, how we get things started. It is a warrior planet, and it is absolutely all about how we start things. So if you're ever someone who's like, I'm never motivated, we take a look at your Mars. And that probably means your Mars is in something like Pisces because you couldn't possibly be motivated. You're too busy living in other dimensions. So that's the kind of thing that we look at. Okay, good, Deborah. Do check it out. Like we just did our meeting for June earlier this week, like Tuesday, I think. So if you get in now, you can see the replay of that and ask any questions about that and what we covered specifically. And then, of course, you're here in time for the July session, which is, what is our July woo-woo session? It is on the 23rd. So yeah, we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that in a month. Okay, less than a month. All right, then we also have our next planet out is Jupiter. So now we are leaving the personality planets. You remember I said that all the stuff that is close in is personality affecting. And the three main ones are Sun, Rising, Moon. And then the next layer is Mercury, Venus, Mars. Then we move out to the outer planets and we start with Jupiter and Saturn. Those two I like to pair up because Jupiter is how we get lucky and Saturn is where we have challenges. So they go together really well and they travel together an awful lot, which means you may have them in the same house depending on when you were born. And if you have them in the same house, that's great because you have lessons and the ability to be lucky with figuring out how to solve them. So Jupiter, if all the planets get together and go to Vegas, Jupiter is driving the party bus. Jupiter is how we get lucky. It's how we have prosperity. It's how we have abundance. It's how we grow and expand. So that's all Jupiter. Saturn is what I call the dad planet. Saturn is all about, are you doing what you said you would do? Are you following your destiny? Are you showing up in the world the way that you're meant to? Saturn is the one that will correct our shit if we don't get it right. Saturn brings challenges. And so part of the reason that when at the beginning of this, I was reading back to you what I wrote and said about 2020, back in December of 2019, when I was sharing, here's what's up for 2020. Saturn and Pluto being together means the destruction, Pluto, burn it to the ground, start over fresh, transformation, that's Pluto. Saturn, destiny. Like, are you living your destiny? And just looking from where we are just in the world and with all of the issues that are out there and active and in front of us, it is showing at a systems level what's not working. That's Saturn. And then the ability to make the changes, which is why a lot of astrologers are very optimistic, because Saturn showing all the problems by itself could really suck. But because we've got Pluto, which is the planet of change and transformation, we actually stand a chance of getting some of these systems fixed for the first time. So it's an incredibly optimistic point of view that I take, but that's just my set point always. But those are those two, Jupiter and Saturn. Then from there, we move out to the true outer planets. And these tend to be shared by more people based on when you were born. So for instance, Pluto, once we get out to Pluto, you share Pluto with people for like anywhere from 14 to 30 years. Because that's how long it stays in a sign. And so you've got a generation of people that share Pluto in that sign, which is why we have things that, like, some generations screw up the economy. Some generations create all the inventions. Some of the generations create a spiritual point of view for alternative health. Like, all of that is generational because of Pluto and sharing that mission. But I got ahead of myself because I still have two planets to talk about before I talk about Pluto. We've got how you innovate with Uranus, how you come at things differently, where you're unique. That's Uranus. And then Neptune is your magic. Neptune is how you pull something out of nowhere and create brilliance because of your connection with source, because of your internal inherent magic. That is also a little planet of deception. So depending on where it is in your chart, it can also mean this is how you get the wool pulled over your eyes. Again, that just depends on a lot of other things in your chart as well. And then, as I mentioned, Pluto, the final planet that we track for this, that is the planet of transformation. So now it's a generational planet of transformation. You now have a map to the houses and a list of what all the planets mean. And now you should know just on your own what the mood of some of the signs are. And if you're like, I don't have that yet, start reading the horoscopes, start looking at those memes out on Instagram where people go, this is what an Aquarius would read. This is what, if I had to do all the signs as cookies, here's the cookies they would be. Like, just start looking at super easy shit like that. And you start to get a sense of what each of the signs is kind of like a specialist in. But we can go deeper on that, obviously, for those of you who are joining me in the dojo for some membership there. So thank you for checking that out. Thank you for sticking with me. I know we went over the huge today, but this is a dense topic that I love to geek out about. And I'm glad I was able to help so many of you with some information that maybe gives you some aha moments, or maybe it makes you just want to dig deeper. And I'm happy to continue that conversation with you as we go on. Fabulous, you beautiful people. Mwah. Make sure you hug yourself if you have not done so lately, because oh my God, do we need more of the love everywhere. Spread it. Spread it, spread it. And please remember, Mercury is still in retrograde. So be patient. Take a moment, take a breath, use words that you intend to land the way they could at their best, knowing that Mercury in retrograde may try to change up some of that. So there you go. Beautiful people. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad. I love you all so much. I will continue to check the replay at Facebook for any continued conversation. And of course, I hope you will let me know how things are going for you as you can continue exploring a little woo. Because you know me, I love the woo, and I'm happy to share this with y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you, beautiful people. Stay ninja.